One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Good morning, Eagles, and welcome to school on Friday, May 8th. Let's start off the day with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We want to wish a happy birthday to Maylee in Mrs. Perry's class, Alexis in Mrs. Moleni's class, and Anna in Mrs. Howe's class. Happy birthday.
Now it's time for learning.
Long spiel. Hello there, Eagles, and welcome to another episode of The Joy of Crafting with Mr. Sorensen. Today we're going to do a very special drawing, and unlike normally when we would do painting to relieve our stress today, we're just going to do some drawing. We're going to use materials that I'll bet you have lying around your house. All I'm going to be using is a pencil and some crayons and also one marker just to make it fancy. So you should have a much easier time following along with me this week. I'm starting with just a white piece of paper here, and I've got my pencil in hand. Now what are we going to draw? Now it's springtime and spring is in the air, and I love walking around my garden, and one of my favorite things in my garden is that I have some gnomes, some garden gnomes. I don't know if you know what a garden gnome is, but they're cute little creatures that live in your garden, and they're fun. I like their big noses and their bushy beards. Garden gnomes always cheer me up, so I thought it would be nice to draw a garden gnome, a happy little garden gnome today. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I had a friend of mine some years ago who worked for Disney drawing pictures for Disney movies, and he taught me a little bit about how to draw with a pencil. Instead of drawing one dark line, he says you draw lots of little light lines until you find a line that you like. So I'm going to try that today. So we're going to start by drawing the nose on my gnome first. I want to start with a big oval for his nose, my gnome nose. So I'm going to start right here in the middle of my paper. And I'm just going to draw just gently and lightly over and over until I get a shape that I kind of like. There we go. There's a nice nose for me right there in the middle. I like that. That works for me. Next, I'm going to draw his hat, which is going to be on top of his head, and I want the brim of his hat to come right down to his nose and cover up his eyes because I think it looks funny. So I'm just going to gently draw like an upside down frowny line that touches right to the top of the nose. And I'll just draw it really gentle. There we go, just like that. Now, I need his brim to be kind of thick, so I'm going to do a second line right above it. Just a copy of that same kind of line, just right above it. But just above, just like that. Another upside down smiley face just right there. Now I'm going to finish up the brim of his hat by closing those two together. Just going to kind of close those in with like a kind of a shallow letter C, and over here I'm going to have a shallow backwards letter C. Closing those together. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Those lines will all blend out when I use my marker later. Now I'm going to finish up his hat. I think his hat needs to be a big curly Q hat. So I'm just going to start down here, and again, just nice, light, gentle lines. And I'll come up here, and I want his hat to come up and form a big curly Q. Look at that. Oh yeah. That's a hat a gnome can be proud of. Look at that. It'll come right down to there. There's my big gnome curly Q hat. I like it. Next I want to do his beard. I like a big bushy beard. My beard is not very bushy. I can't grow a very bushy beard, but my gnome's going to have a much bushier beard. It's going to cover up his mouth and everything. So I'm going to start right down here underneath his hat. And again, nice light lines until I kind of get a shape that I like. And I want him to have a nice long bushy beard. And then I want his beard to be a little jaggly here at the bottom. Go, nice jaggly lines for his beard. There he is. So there's my gnome's beard all finished up. Now I think he needs some feet to stand on, so I'm just going to make two more big ovals down here right below his beard. These are going to be his big gnome feet. And there's one gnome foot, and then right over here to the side I'm going to do a second big gnome foot. And there's his little feet that he's going to stand on. Now he needs a gnome body to connect his feet to his head, so I'm going to make him a little bit pudgy. I'm just going to start right here, just about halfway down his beard, and I'm just going to do it with 3 lines. There's one line right there, that's one side of his body. There's another side of his body, and then I'm just going to connect right down here. And there's my happy little gnome all finished up, sitting in the garden. Now I've got to... I said I was going to clean up the lines and trace them with a marker, so now I'm going to take this permanent marker here, and I'm going to go over the lines, but I'm going to go over each line very carefully, just one time, to darken it in. So here I go. I'm going to start where I started with his nose. Nice big fat marker here. And I'm just going to trace over my lines to make them stand out. There we go. Now his hat. And this is just like tracing. Just take your time. And be careful. One nice fat line, it'll make him stand out. One gnome foot. 2 gnome feet. And connect it with a line right there. One line right there, and one line right there. And there's my garden gnome all darkened in, ready to go. Now I've got to color in my gnome, and instead of using paint today, like I said, I'm going to use crayons. I'm going to start with my background. You guys know that I've got my blue and my green crayon with the paper taken off. So first I'm going to give him some grass to stand on. I'm just going to use the side of my crayon and give him a nice grassy place he can stand. That'll make him happy. Use the side of my crayon to get it right next to his feet. And then I'll use the side of my blue crayon with the paper taken off to give some sky back there. And you can add a sun or flowers, whatever you like to your gnome. This is just to give him a background place to live. Gnomes need a pretty place that they can live. There we go. There's our little gnome. Got to get a little closer to his hat up here. It doesn't have a white space around him. There we go. All right. Don't you worry if your gnome doesn't look exactly like mine. It's not important. It just make sure that your gnome makes you happy. So now I'm going to color in his facial features. I'm going to start with his nose. I want his nose to be a big orange nose. Like a big orange nose. And I'm going to use little circles just to color in his nose. This orange color. And color it in nice and dark. Big dark orange gnome nose. Look at that. Looks great. Next I want to do his hat. I think gnomes look best when they have red hats. I know that most gnomes that I look at have red hats, and I think this guy needs a red hat as well, so I'm just going to start here. I don't know, maybe he wants to be Santa Claus. Looks like my red crayon's a little more purple, and that's okay. Just going to use nice short strokes here and fill in his hat. That looks just nice like that. And I think the brim of his hat should maybe be a blue color, but I'm going to use the tip of my marker and make it a little darker blue than my background. And there you go, Mr. Gnome. I'm going to leave his beard white because I like white beards on gnomes, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to color that at all. I think I need to color his shoes. I think he should have brown shoes. Nice dark brown color here for his little gnome feet. And then I think I want his little body here, his little jacket, to be green. So I'm going to use the tip of my green crayon, but I'm going to push much harder and use the tip so it's a dark green so it looks different from the grass behind it. Give it a kind of a different color. And you could take your time, make it look really nice. I'm kind of hurrying. Let me fill all that in. And there we go. There's my garden gnome. I kind of like him. I might go back later and add some flowers. As you know, no painting is complete, or no drawing is complete until it's been signed. So I'm going to take my marker and sign my name right down here at the bottom. That is one finished gnome. Eagles, I hope you've had as good a time painting your gnome as I had, and that you've enjoyed our time together as much as I have. Hope it helps you while away the hours and pass away a little bit of stress. So there is our garden gnome. Have a great day, Eagles.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. This is ABC News.